Video 5, we're going to talk about how to actually get the equation for the LSRL, our least squared regression line. Either number one, with our calculator when we have data available to us, or number two, if I give you certain special statistical information about our data, but we don't actually have the data, we can still get that. Using the calculator from actual data is what we are primarily going to be doing in this class. So let's start with that. The first thing you need to do is take your calculator. So it's super important that you have your calculator with you. And so if you turn it on and you press the Y equals button, okay, the Y equals button's in the top left corner. If you press that, you'll see Y1, Y2, Y3, etc. Clear out any equations that you might have in there because it might screw things up and it's going to really mess up our scatter plot with our line of best fit. So clear out anything there. Then what you need to do is press your stat button, go to edit, and if you need to clear out any of your lists, clear out your lists. And so let's use list 1 and list 2. If you want to use different lists, that's fine, but I'm going to use list 1 and list 2. And let's put in all of these numbers, the degree days and our gas usage. This was from a previous video where we first learned how to do a scatter plot. Okay, so maybe you still have this in here, probably not, but go ahead and retype all of these numbers in. And if you want, they're back on page 4 of your notes if you need to go back and refer to that. But go ahead and put that in. And then, if you're like, whoa, I wasn't done yet, you can pause the video, go ahead and pause the video. But once you're ready, there's two things that are going to happen. You either have an older calculator or you have a newer calculator. All right, you either have a TI-83 Plus or maybe an 84 Plus Silver Edition. So this next step is potentially going to look different to two different calculator people. Let's say you have a regular old, no, let's do this. Because some of these steps are going to be exactly the same regardless of how new or old your calculator is. So once you've got all your data in, basically what you want to do is go to Stat. Everybody can do this regardless of what calculator you have. Go to Stat, press the right arrow to go over to Calc, and then you can either go down in your list to number 8, or you can just select 8 on your calculator, just press 8, and that will bring up the linreg a plus bx command. Okay, the a plus bx, remember that's our y hat equals a plus bx. That's the format we want it to be in. Now, depending on if you have an older calculator, then you're going to see this pop up on your screen. You're going to see linreg a plus bx, but that's all you see. If you have a newer calculator, it's going to look like this. It's already going to have it set up in this way. So this is where things will differ here. All right, that's where things will look different anyway. Now, if you have an older calculator, this is what it looks like on your screen. Then what you need to do is now follow these next steps. You're going to press second 1, the 1 button, and that's your shortcut to get list 1. So you'll see L1 pop up on your screen. Then you need to type in a comma, which is above the 7. And then you're going to press second and the 2 button, and that's the shortcut for list 2. And then the comma button. And then you're going to find the variables button, which is to the left of the clear button. So you'll press variables. You're going to press over to the right to select Y variables. Then you're going to select one function. You're just going to press enter at this point. And then you should see Y1, Y2, Y3 all the way to Y7. And we're just going to use Y1. Okay, so the cursor is already on 1, so just press enter. And so your screen should then look like this if you have the older style calculator. Now let's talk about if you have a newer style calculator. All you're going to do is for your X list, you need to do kind of what I mentioned up here, is press second 1 to put list 1 as your X list. This is our X data. And then you're going to press second 2 in the next line down to get L2 in the Y list. The frequency list, we're just going to leave alone. Just leave it blank. Now the Y1, this is where we need to store the regression equation as our Y1. Okay, so this is where you will still follow all the steps I mentioned earlier. You're going to go press the variables button. You're going to go over, press the variables button, press over to go to Y variables, select function, and then select enter for Y1. And so you should have a Y1 right there. And now at this point, regardless of what calculator you have, If you've got the newer calculator, go ahead and press down and highlight calculate and press enter. If you have the older style calculator, press enter at this point. So once you get that, your screen, regardless if you have a new or old calculator, should look like this guy. Okay, you should see the A and the B. If you don't see the R squared and the R, this is where you need to go to your catalog, which was second 0, go find diagnostic on, press enter and enter again so that it says done. And then if you go through all these steps again, then you should see R and R squared. Okay, so we talked about that in the previous video, or in a previous video somewhere. Anyway, so now our equation is right here. Here's our y. This really should say y hat equals a plus bx, so we can pretend about there being a little hat there. And so they give us a and they give us b right here below it. So if we were to write the actual equation, we would write this. Y hat equals 1.089 if I do 4 sig figs plus 0.189, which would really be 4 sig figs. I'd put a 0 after that 9 if I wanted true 4 sig figs, but I'll just leave it out. So that's the equation of our regression line. Now, whenever we did that comma y1, or we stored the regression equation as y1, if you press at this point the y equals button, remember that top left corner, the y equals button, that should be your equation for y1. Now, it won't just be 1.089, it'll be the full 1.089210843 that the calculator initially gave us. And for the slope, it's going to use that whole full 0.18999895338x. Okay, so now if we press zoom 9, or if you want to go to graph and then say zoom 9, this should be, number one, your scatter plot, as long as your scatter plot is still selected in stat plot. Remember, if you had to get stat plot, you press second y equals, make sure just plot 1 is on, make sure it's using list 1 and list 2, but this is what it should look like ultimately in the end. Once it does the scatter plot, it will graph the line of best fit. And you can see that this line fits those points the best that it possibly can, that provides the least squares amount. Now, if you don't see this, or if you're having issues, you're getting errors, you need to talk to me the next day in class. There's probably something really small that we need to clear out or fix or something. Okay, so if you don't see this, let me know the next day in class. Now, the last part we're going to do here is, what if I don't have the data? But what if I have some information about my data? So this is where this table is going to come in handy. And these formulas are on your formula sheet that you are allowed to use on the AP exam. So you'll get to use them on your chapter test. But we have formulas here for the slope and for the y-intercept. And what we need to know in order to calculate the slope and the y-intercept is we need to know what the correlation r is. We need to know what the standard deviation of our y variable is and what the standard deviation of our x variable is. We need to know what the mean of the y is, and we need to know what the mean of the x is. Now, if you notice in the y-intercept formula, we need to know b, which is the slope. So we're going to have to start with the slope first. So in this particular problem, and I don't even know what this data actually pertains to, but I have given you the mean of the x and the y's, the standard deviation of the x and the y's, and the correlation. So you need these 5 pieces of information in order to mathematically determine the regression line, the y hat equals a plus bx. All right, so I'm going to do that part with you, and then once we're done with that, I'm going to have you guys finish it out and figure out what is y, what would we predict y to be when x is 30. So again, to do this, we got to have the equation. So let's bring up the handy dandy calculator here. Okay, so if I wanted to start out with determining the slope. So I look at my slope formula up there, and it says b, select that here, b is r, and really this is saying times the standard deviation of the y divided by the standard deviation of the x. Well, the correlation is 0.997. And we're going to multiply that by sy, which is 33.479, divided by the standard deviation of our x data, which is 19.6. Oh, come on, come on, come on. There we go, 6. Let me do a 9. Let me do a 9. Why won't you let me do a 9? Gotta do it with the mouse. It's going to look ugly. Sorry. 0.696. So if I were to come up here in my calculator now, 0.997 times 33.479 divided by 19.696. There is my slope. So the slope is approximately, why are you doing this to me, board? Come on. For real? For real, Williams? Come on. Okay, maybe I can write over here. Okay, whatever. Oh, that's still being crazy. Anyway, B is going to be approximately positive 1.69, 5. If I go 4 sig figs there. 1.695. So I've got my slope. Now I can go get my intercept, my y-intercept, the a value. It says a is equal to y bar minus b. What is the deal with b's? Let me write b's. B, really it's times x bar. So now I just got to plug in what I know. So y bar I was given as 161.111 minus the slope, which I just figured out as 1.695, times the mean of x, which was 17.222. So now I just get to type this into my calculator. 161.111 minus 1.695 times 17.222, and there's my a value, my y-intercept. It is approximately, if I do 4 sig figs, 131.9. So now I could write my actual equation, my regression equation. It is y hat equals a, which is 131.9, plus, since my slope was positive, 1.695 x. So there's my regression equation. Now I'm going to leave it to you guys to figure out what would y be, predicting what would y be when x is 30. So again, to finish this out, we can figure out how to get our regression line when we have 5 values: the mean of the x, the mean of the y, the standard deviation of x, the standard deviation of y, and the correlation. You have to have all 5 of those things. Or we can just use our calculator, which again is what we're going to do for the most part in class. And that's it.